Good evening, race fans, and welcome to downtown Detroit, specifically Belle Isle, for round 3 of this 7-race season here in the CIL Roadside in spring of 2022. Joining me up in the booth tonight is Matthew Nordberg and Josh Crane. And Josh, a fun little track, our home track here tonight.
Indeed, you and I both no stranger to Detroit, the island of Belle Isle here, and it's a little bit unique. We do love it. Known for its pristine roads, shades of Sebring here that we have recently visited with the CIL. That's going to be the difficulty for these drivers. We saw a little bit about the soft setup, the stiff setup, and drivers trying to absorb these bumps in these cars while they make sure that they are transferring the weight and getting their driving characteristics and habits that they want to. A little bit of help for the drivers is going to be the ambient temp. It's a little bit cool right now, and still a little bit cool, under 192 Fahrenheit, shown on track. So the drivers will have a little bit of grip there. But as far as Detroit, we've seen it, and iRacers will know that it is a little bit. It's very technical. There's not a lot of spots to open it up. And similar to the upcoming Bathurst, that'll be on some of these drivers' minds. You're never far from a wall here, so bouncing around next to walls in these GT3 cars, it can always be a contact sport in this GT3 class. And gentlemen, I think that tonight will not be an exception to that.
Yeah,
Yep,
not at all.
absolutely. Looking forward to a lot of the racing here tonight as some of the drivers get out on track for their qualifying runs. But just a few quick reminders about the format change from the last season. Uh, two 25-minute sprint races after qualifying, with the first race being determined by the order done in qualifying. Afterwards, second race, top 12 inverted. So 12th place starts on the pole for the second race. Any car changes in between the races tonight will incur an end of line penalty. So, if you, for example, if you drove an Audi in the last race and switched to a Lambo for this race, you're going to be taking a penalty and starting at the back of the grid for race one.
Yeah, we've seen that the dual heat setup that these drivers are going to battle tonight does set up for some unique situations, and we even saw most recently Clemson with a win. Hagen Johnson taking the Clemson school and program to victory there with those orange wheels. So anything can happen, especially here on the streets of Detroit. I think that. Our race stewards will be busy monitoring the action, the contacts. There's going to be a lot of racing incidents this evening, just with a lot of cars on track and not so many square feet to share, guys.
Yeah, Josh, you said it right there. Especially we're even going to see it in group qualifying here. So, for those of you unfamiliar, group qualifying, everyone out on track at the same time. And we've seen this, guys. It adds a little strategy into this qualifying. Matt mentioned that invert that's going to come at the end of race number 1. So we've seen guys that get kind of toward that 12th position, kind of just hang out for sake of the second race. Both races equal points, but very hard to win both. We've seen we have not had a repeat winner. Sean Campbell had internet issues last or 2 weeks ago at Sebring, and that cost him his chance at being the first repeat winner here. Josh?
Yeah, and that's something that these drivers are going to battle. You can see, I think that was Hagen Johnson there from Clemson, just putting that AMG a little bit close to the tire barrier. So, as you said, Jarrett, there's going to be a lot of things for these drivers to manage the traffic around them, the track itself, and their own equipment. 25 minutes each race. It's not going to be a long race, so it'll be the green flag, and then it will be set to battle. We have seen some of those hour-long races in the previous CIL road format, but not tonight. It's gonna be a racing from the green flag, I think. So as we get set and some of these times begin to roll in, I think that that'll be the trend for the evening. You can see UCLA and the Bruins there. Sean Valandia, usually quite quick, and we've seen that McLaren, a nice looking spec map on that car, always to be seen at the front generally. So that'll be one to watch. And I don't know, Matt, we got a full grid going on. What are your thoughts, and what's your pick for the evening?
Yeah, I think qualifying is going to be the most important part of tonight. I think it's going to be a bit difficult to pass around here given how tight the walls are. So I think coming out in a good position in the first qualifying session is going to be a big key to at least winning the first race. Maybe some of these slower guys, mid-pack guys, they might be racing instead of for points in the first race. They might be racing for that 12th position. So I expect to see some, good racing throughout the field tonight. But one guy who's catching my eye right now is Alexander Klink. He's right up there with some of the fast guys. It's been a while since we've seen him, so expect him to put in some good lap times tonight.
Yeah, I think so. And on your screen was Ryan Whitlock from the University of Alabama at Huntsville, part of Charger Motorsports at that program, and maybe a little bit of a motion rig. You could see the bumps that were going on there in Detroit. So not sure if that was a motion rig or for effect there, but nonetheless, guys, Whitlock is going to be a name that we've called all season long, and I think we'll continue to do so here tonight. Still looking pretty good atop the scoring charts right there with a 1:28, about mid pack right now, but those will come down. And guys, the story continues to change, as the fuel burns off and cars come in and go away. And I think management of equipment here is going to be a little bit key. I know that drivers traditionally talk about tires just going off, towards the end of a run, and here where we have a little bit of an abrasive surface and a lot of weight transfer, that's going to scuff these tires. That's going to be a little bit difficult for these tires.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on top of the tire wear, I think that a lot of the drivers have to be focused on mentally how challenging this track can be. The walls are always close, so just one lapse in judgment, going a little too deep in just one corner one time, that could be enough to end your race right there. Get some suspension damage hitting the corner of your car and the wall. So I think it is really important that drivers not only focus on managing their tires, but focus on staying, alert the entire race.
Yeah, the whole race is going to be key, as you said. And Matt, I have hit some of those walls and driven around with my steering wheel at an angle, and my toe kicked out, and it's stressful and not desired. So that's going to be something that these drivers are tasked with, making sure they get through all 25 minutes of each race. And Jared, just like you said, being able to put these cars in position for the second heat, don't necessarily need to game it, but there are equal points that are incentivized, and we have not seen any repeat winners this season.
Yeah, and once again, it looks like Sean Campbell is going to go to the end of the line in race number 1. He switched to the BMW here tonight, so he will be starting at the tail end of the field. Also joining him at the tail end is going to be on your screen right now, Alexander Hogarth from St. Clair College. They'll be heading to the end of the line for the same reason, changing manufacturers between races, so those two will bring up the tail end of the field. And I think it's going to be an interesting race to do that. Josh, you mentioned the difficulty in passing here. And turn 1, quite a tricky turn to get through, as you carry a lot of speed and that car does unload. So it'll be an interesting turn 1. And then everything just sort of settles out, and you see the guys. To be fast, you got to get really close to that wall. And Matt, you touched on it right there. Sometimes very scary to do. In a 25-minute race, you got to be locked in for all 25 of those minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest, determining factor of how this race goes for a lot of drivers is going to be turns 1 and 2. Like you said, that fast right-hander going down into turn 1 leads to a bit of a tightening turn 2 with a massive bump on the exit right next to the wall. So if you don't have your car steady by the time you're at the exit and you hit that bump, it's going to be a bad time for some of these drivers. And even a little bit of incident avoidance as well, can come into play with how tight these walls are. So being alert of not only where you're putting your car, but where other cars are going around you. That's going to be a key factor tonight for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, I think so. And we talked about, Jarrett, you mentioned specifically turn 1 where the cars unload. So 2 things. Passing, it is very hard to pass here, and I don't think we'll see as many passes. It's going to be how can you get a run out of the previous corner? How can you set your car up in a sequence for one of the few passing zones, maybe in the first sector around this track? But second, we saw maybe one of the more recognizable moments, the one year at the Grand Prix, the Corvette pace car coming around that first turn, unloading and loading into the outside wall there, is a clip that has made its way around the internet a few times. And that's what these drivers are going to experience as you go around the corner. It's a sweeping left-hander. You want to be accelerating, and you're on the gas. The road lifts up and sits down, and so does your car, and the rear end becomes very light. So that's what these drivers are going to have to modulate both the hopefully not the brake, but certainly the throttle, and sometimes, Jarrett, we call that pedaling around the corner, trying to get out with the maximum speed on corner exit.
And you're seeing it right here as we ride on board with Santi Perez. That difficult turn 1, get on the curb, then turn 1, cut that turn 2 nice and tight, outside toward the wall. And then this is one of these passing zones Josh mentioned, down this long straightaway toward a hard right-hander. Josh?
And it is down into turn 2, just missed that curb. It's a kicker if you hit it. And this will be second or third gear, probably third gear for some of these talented drivers. And right here, the fastest part is closest to the wall. You want to make sure, come out and watch the wall to kick out on the right, but all the while being smooth, turning in a little bit earlier than you think and exiting just close enough to that wall. A little bit of caution there as another passing zone, probably one of the last. We're only in the second sector right now, about halfway through the lap, but it's your time to think. And now under heavy braking, and the car's going to move around a little bit, and then a little bit of a technical part around the Detroit fountain, going into this section of left-handers, and then this sequence, it's a tight right-hander coming up, and this is where we could see cars. If we are bumper to bumper, guys, we're going to see some accordion effect right there. Getting out of the corner, and now you've got a couple spots where you could set something up, but going into this corner here, not quite a passing zone because of the way that wall jumps out, and then one of the faster sweepers on this track going straight along. You see the pit entrance on your right, and that's a lap here. So this whole sequence is a passing zone, a sweeper right, and then back, Jarrett, into your your right and left for turn 1. But there really is no rest at this Belle Isle circuit.
No, and you mentioned it, just how fast that final sector is, and then right into turns 1 and 2 and down that long straight. So no rest, and you really got to plan your attack right there, because like you said, you're going to accordion and then you get right back on throttle. And I think we'll see a lot of single file racing. It's going to be interesting to see where guys end up passing as you look at your current pole sitter, Sean Campbell. He'll be heading to the end of the line once again. Right behind him, tough hit into the wall for Andrew Burrell. And you see those concrete walls do not give that much, and I can speak to that firsthand. Watching the Indy cars run into those, it's not fun for these GT3 cars either. Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned it earlier too, that a lot of single file racing. It'll be interesting to see how drivers set up their pass coming out of that last corner, coming down into turn 1. How many of these drivers are going to be willing to risk, a path at that high speed turn 1, or just bide their time and see if they can get a good run out of turn 2. So I think there's a lot of options here for drivers for passing for a street circuit, that is. But it'll definitely be interesting to see which drivers, take advantage of the aggressive moves going into turn 1.
Yeah, that's going to be, you mentioned passing. It's going to be a theme here that's hard to do, but at these race starts, drivers will need to make sure that they can get through the first few laps. There's going to be a lot of accordion effect, nose to tail, when they're close, and as they get spread out and fan out, especially after turn 1. Talked about down that front straight just after turn 1.
So qualifying just wrapping on up here, and let's take a peek at your starting grid, brought to you by InnoVetted Labs. Sean Campbell on provisional pole. He heads to the back of the field, putting Thomas Toomey in control of this race number 1. Avery Walker from the University of Virginia, a pair of Virginia front row runners here tonight at Detroit. Santi Perez from UNC Charlotte. You know him from the oval side, giving his hand at the road. He starts in 4th. Alexander Klink from WPI rolls off 5th. Nick Daly from UT Arlington in 6th. Kyle Bonin, the first of our Clemson University drivers, starts in 7th here tonight. Carl Lemkool from St. Louis University in his motion rig rolls off 8th. Cohen Evans from IUPUI starting in 9th today. And Hagen Johnson from Clemson University in 10th. Ryan Whitlock with our in-car camera rolls off 11th. And Juan Pantonia from Ball State University in the 99 machine will roll off 12th. Carrying on down your starting order, Sean Valendia and Jeffrey Oatsill from UCLA start 13th and 14th. Athena LeClaire from St. Clair College starts in 15th. Justin Roberts from Clemson in 16th. George Nimmer from Southern Illinois starts in 17th. Andrew Williams in 18th. Evan Puckett from Ball State rolls off 19th. Robert Morris, his Nicholas Patnella, will start in 20th. Austin DeLong from the Penn College of Technology starts in 21st. Maximilian Bowie from USC in 22nd. Brett Bennett from Baylor rolls off 23rd. Andrew Burrell, Matthew Warren, and Alexander Hogarth round out your field. Josh?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one here. These drivers set up and on the grid. You can see just now rolling forward. And Sean Campbell, we see warming up those rear tires. And looks like the University of Virginia, no stranger to the front. In fact, it's going to be with that EOL, guys. It's going to be Virginia front row, a alumni and student lockout. Look at that. That's going to be Thomas Toomey in the McLaren on your right. And on your left is going to be the Audi R8. As we go to, that's Avery Walker, as we come to the green flag here in the air. Good start from Virginia, 2x2. Everybody making it into turn 1 so far, not 3 wide. Everybody trying to pay attention to their spotter, guys. This is the critical part of the race. Everybody through turn 1 trying to pay attention to the weight transfer of these cars. And again, now the passing zone fan out. A little bit of defense from that Clemson machine. Matt?
Yeah, as these cars move down into turn 3, they're going to be going side by side. Getting a good exit. That is the one of the cars. Can't tell which driver it is from here, but it's the still going side by side through turn 4 into turn 5. It tightens up real well here before turn 6 onto the long back stretch. But these are very important corners. Make sure you get the car straightened out. Really avoid trying to hit that wall, as the exit tightens up much quicker than it feels like it's going to.
Yeah, it does half a lap in the books. The back still trying to get sorted as you are on board with Cohen Evans, IUPUI, looking at Clemson's Kyle Bonin, but it's not just set up for this corner, and it looks like UCLA can get a better run. It looks like now did not quite a passing zone, Matt. This sequence of corners, as Clemson will lead the way so far in the AMG around the fountain, and you can see there, I believe Juan Pantoja is going to be in that Ball State machine. That's the McLaren right there on the inside. Little bit of muscle through George Nimmer and back into the wall. They remain side by side.
Yeah, it's a bold move to go around the outside there at the fountain, but he almost made it work, but slightly just got into the wall there as the car in front slides out of the corner as they come back onto the front stretch to complete the first lap of this 25-minute race. Side by side coming back to the pit entrance. Are we going to see a move into turn 1 here?
I think so. Down Athena Leclerc in that Porsche number 61 machine from St. Clair College will move up and have a little bit of road up ahead down the long run, but it looks like some defense might be in order. We know that BMW, that twin turbo machine, is strong a little bit more than the Porsche, but it's going to be a Porsche position, and yeah, that was pretty well done. And actually, it looks like Contact was able to stay off competitor, but right there you can see Juan Pantoja, Ball State University, trying to get that machine turned around. Not easy to do here, Matt.
Yeah, it just looks like Montoya got into the he tried to take advantage of the attack going on in front of the defense by Leclerc and just got into the side of the BMW in front of him. So a bit self-inflicted there, but there's still plenty of time to make up some spots in this race.
Yeah, plenty of time. And right now, on board with Sean Campbell, looking like a slow pace, maybe a little bit of crab to that car. What happened here? Looks like at this point already in trouble, but Matt, I'm going to guess that there was a little bit of contact with the wall, because I have seen that here and I've seen that at Bathurst, and I think that that is not how that car is supposed to operate, though. It looks like he is back underway. Trying to see as there looks like a car around out of turn 1 we talked about. That's where cars are going to be sideways. And now Sean Campbell and Randolph College are going to try to make their way through the field. Looks like Juan Pantoja here. We're going to go back and replay as he comes up through the field, and this is going to be into the third sector, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like Sean might just got into the wall out of turn 2, which is very easy to do if you're not careful on cold tires. That big bump there that caught out the Corvette pace car a few years ago in the IndyCar race. They just showed how easy it is to do that. But as we cycle through the field here, we on board with Avery Walker coming around turn 5. holding a little bit of defense from behind from Alexander Klink, but looks like he'll be just far enough ahead to hold off a move from the hard charger from behind in Klink.
Yeah, this is going to be a tight battle between WPI and the University of Virginia here for position. These drivers both in R8s, and looking like the stewards are letting us know that that Randolph machine was helped into the wall just a touch, but we'll stay following here. Yeah, really good exit from Clank, and a little bit of slow there from Walker in the Virginia machine, but driving down into. Meanwhile, Virginia and Thomas Toomey at the front. That blue Audi R8 wants to join the fight. That's Nicholas Daly from the University of Texas at Arlington.
Yeah, as we go on board here with Nick Daly, trying to catch up to the pack in front going into turns 1 and 2, but it's very difficult to make up some time here or very easy to make up time here, I should say, if cars are fighting in front. It's a very technical track, so side by side action can cost the defending and attacking driver a lot of time. So if you have the pace, it's very important to make your pass early and make your pass safely too. As we saw earlier, seeing some contact between drivers. So.
Yeah, safely is going to be key. As we've seen, there's not a lot of room for action. Looks like that BMW, that's going to be George Nimmer, moving past the St. Clair College machine. And right there now we see that Andrew Williams, Clemson University driver, is going to be trying to race that Porsche, guys. So a little bit of a group of 3 right there as we see the battles on your tower. You can see with the intervals, a little battle for 3rd place at the moment, as well as 11th, 12th, and 13th, all trying to share. And then a little bit closer together, 15th, 16th. Again, that's what we're on board with. We're on board with Joe Otzel from UCLA, and that's Bruins' Sean Volandia's teammate. And these drivers are trying to negotiate the little sequence around the fountain as well. And it looks like a handful of Lamborghinis here trying to chase that AMG Clemson machine, Matt.
Yeah, all these drivers right here fighting for that 12th spot. Super important to make sure you get that inverted, pole position for race 2. So I don't think any of these drivers are going to be giving up position that easily here. But when do you ever expect them to give up position easily? They're all racing drivers.
That is correct, and I don't think I'd bet on that. And I know that the 13th, Justin Roberts, he's going to want to put his name in that top 12 and get the benefits. So that's going to be something to watch for. And Ryan Whitlock, perhaps not in an enviable position at the moment. UCLA's Joe Otzel and Clemson's Hagen Johnson looking a little bit better at the moment in this group of 4.
Yeah, it's very important or it's going to be interesting to see how the pace of these drivers develops over the race, because I'm sure some of these drivers hyper focus with good tires at the start of the race, but as this race wears on, brain fade, fatigue, tire wear, it's all going to come into play. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more movement later on in the race as these drivers get maybe a bit more distracted. As we see, Joe Otzel here trying to pull a move on Hagen Johnson. Can't quite get there though going into turn 7 as they go around the fountain now. But Josh, I think there's a lot of good racing to come later on, but right now a lot of these drivers seem to be playing pretty fair with each other.
100%. It's about 7 minutes into this 25-minute event, first heat of the night. And yeah, I don't think that they have chosen to hit the walls just yet. And you can see, actually, Joe Otzel, UCLA, was just up behind that Clemson machine and now is a little bit closer to Ryan Whitlock. That's that Lamborghini in the center from the University of Alabama at Huntsville in Charger Motorsports. And you've seen him occasionally on board as we go through this sequence, and really good camera work right here. You can see just how physical this track is. Matt, you mentioned it's hard to stay focused and there's not a lot of room for error, and a little bit like Sebring in the bumps, these guys are working in the car. They're trying to stay on the wheel. They're trying to make sure that car is going where they want and wrestle it over some of these bumps and undulations. So really good there. You can see just what Hagen Johnson is going to see in his mirror, a face full of Lamborghini as that Bruin closes in, and he's going to have a really good chance here from the V10 in that Lamborghini to open it up on this longer straight. It's a passing zone, but I'm not sure that it will be this time around, Matt.
I think Otzel is going to have to get a tad closer, be a bit aggressive with his overtakes going into turn 7 here, but sticks close with them. The two manufacturers battling it out here, the AMG and the Lambo. So That difference in manufacturers could come into play as well. One might be better on their tires, one might have better straight line speed. So even though all these cars are modeled, virtually, they are very realistic to the real cars. Each car has its own advantages and each car has its own disadvantages. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of this race.
Yeah, that will be something. And we've seen drivers choosing cars that are better at some tracks than at others. This is the first CIL season here in Season 4 that drivers would not be changing or would not be permitted to change cars based on track. However, they can do so and accept an end-of-line penalty at the beginning. In fact, I think we saw Sean Campbell do something like that at the beginning as his BMW moved to the back. And Matt, we saw the effect that was a that was a business decision that did not quite pan out as he was helped in the wall. So if you're going to go to the back, you're going to have to pass those cars, and it can be treacherous to be back there.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when you're a fast driver like Sean, he's going to try to be aggressive and try to make sure he gets his way towards the front of the field as fast as he can. But sometimes when you're around slower drivers, they do things that you wouldn't expect, or make mistakes that inadvertently affect you. So, at the end of the day, it was a business decision, like you said. But it turns out it looks like it's going to cost Sean Campbell costly here in this first race. And like we said earlier, with the two races, it's going to cost him in the second race as well. From having this, looks like since he's still in the pits, he's going to have to start from the back of that second race as well.
He would be starting in the back, but I'm going to go from the back to the front, Matt, and I'm going to call out Thomas Toomey coming off a hand injury, and we know how important that is. As we said, the wheel is being jerked around in your hand, and you got to hold on to it, trying to be ripped out, and we know he's got that Simucube. So Thomas Toomey with that big force feedback coming off hand injury last couple of weeks, actually missed the oval race, but is back here at the point for the Virginia Cavaliers of this one. So excellent comeback, and shades of Kyle Busch as he comes back and certainly makes quick work of this Detroit track. I don't know if there's a much more difficult track to make that comeback at, Matt.
No, I don't think there is. As we tune back the battle for 10th through 13th right now, is Oatsel looks like he was trying to pull a move on Hagen Johnson, but can't quite pull it off. As they go into what looks like turn 5, all nose and tail right now. The 3 Lamborghinis chasing the 1 AMG. Oatsel setting himself up well for a move down the backstretch here, going into turn 7. It looks like. So we'll see if he can make a catch. He can catch Hagen Johnson up in front. That Lamborghini has that big engine in the back, big or super fast straight line speed compared to the other cars, but can't quite get there in the end. That straightaway just not long enough. As Hagen Johnson goes a little bit deep into the turn, hits the walls as Oatsel overtakes and takes the opportunity. Hagen Johnson only loses 1 spot in that battle, but could have been a costly mistake there, Josh.
It could have been, and yeah, right there you saw a little bit of accordion. It looked like trying to take effect right here. You see that Lamborghini almost make contact. That's the University of Alabama at Huntsville, who was trying to make the most of the chance there, but looks like back underway. These drivers now, UCLA is at the front of this group and just trying to sneak out. I don't know if Hagen would have any damage. Matt, probably not too much, but yeah, not how you want to be. And we're talking about this group of 4. The last man out does not transfer up to the front. As we go back here, it looks like this is Robert Morris University in the McLaren trying to look at Brett Bennett. I believe that is the Baylor University machine, and the McLaren and the Porsche are going to go down back to the start-finish line.
Yeah, it's Evan Puckett there in the McLaren moving up towards turn 1. Almost pulled a move in that backstretch in the last sector of the track, but couldn't quite pull it off. But I think he's got a shot coming down into turn 3 here if he lines it up right out of turn 2, which he does. I just don't know if he's going to be quite close enough. These straightaways, even though they're pretty long, they're not quite long enough to compare to some other tracks. So you just got to sit back behind the car in front and just bide your time. Wait for a mistake like we saw earlier with Hagen Johnson and Oatsel, and hope for the best.
Yeah, we know with these tracks, sometimes waiting for that mistake is part of the game, part of the race, and part of the event here is was on board with Evan Puckett, but now seeing Santiago Therese from UNC Charlotte. And you mentioned it, seen him a lot on the roadside, but right now trying to put up a fight with that R8. And the R8's a little bit popular this evening. and have been this season there with Alexander Klenk, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, going to be on the outside, not where I'd want to be, but he's going to do his best. Can he carry momentum there? That's going to be key. And Alexander Klenk, I think Matt Klenk made a business decision. He's had the pace. He's been run down. No need to put up a fight and lose more time. He's just going to settle in. Remember, Klenk probably doesn't want to fall back too close to that Texas at Arlington machine in 5th place.
Yeah, that was a great move around the outside by Santi Therese from UNC Charlotte. It's very difficult, especially at that corner, because there are those tire or barriers on the outside of the corner. Kind of tightens up the exit a bit more than you think it would. But yeah, definitely think a business decision. Fighting loses both the attacker and the defender time on the track. So just letting Santi through and following him through, following his braking points and his lines, it's going to speed both of them up. And hopefully they can catch up to Avery Walker and Tom's Toomey up in front.
That is correct. And Alexander Klenk, a former champion of CIL, and was doing that actually that season in the AMG Mercedes. Going back now, we see Cohen Evans, IUPUI, and mentioned again the silent assassin, Cohen Evans, continuing to run strong, and Matt hanging out in that 8th place. Probably a good look. He would flip up to, I believe, 4th or so, should that invert go on. And Kyle Bonin, you see there in a similar situation, probably content just to ride in the middle. You see he's sliding out towards that wall. These cars have such momentum as they try and go down that straightaway on corner exit. But we're going to go back here and see Ryan Whitlock still chasing the Clemson machine of Hagen Johnson, and all under fire from Jeremy Roberts. But I'll tell you what, Matt, it's been a minute now, and Jeremy Roberts not quite able to slide inside that 12th position. And so we thought he had something, man. Well, a little bit of a mistake, and in the wall there. And I think just trying to avoid that Clemson machine under braking, maybe late on the brakes, still right underneath of that Clemson machine. So that is Ryan Whitlock driving the Alabama at Huntsville Lamborghini, and he's going to have a chance now to get on board. But is this what you want? Back into that corner, turn in a little bit early, and yeah, Matt, I don't know if he's within striking distance.
Yeah, it was a bit of a costly mistake going down in turn 3, just grazing the wall a bit. But one thing to note is Joe Otzel is already nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of this he was fighting with earlier. So if I was any other drivers who might be out of this race right now watching, I'd keep that in mind for race 2, because that just shows how much pace differential there can be when there are a bit slower cars in front of you and you're trying to pass, where around this track where it's super difficult to pass.
It is very difficult to pass, and you'll be motivated, right, Joe Otzel? How much time did he lose as he stayed for a couple laps as we watched behind the Clemson machine there? And then now free to run, he can stretch his legs. Maybe he runs up to Cohen Evans before this one is over. He's got about 9 minutes to do so. So that's what these drivers are battling with, and you have to balance. I need to get around the car in front, but I need to keep my car in one piece in doing so. And still, as you ride on board, and a really good perspective, probably a little bit of a defensive move there. Ryan Whitlock saying, no, I need this position. And guys, I think Justin Roberts has entered the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ryan Whitlock's feeling the pressure from behind now. He's really trying to force a move on Hagen Johnson in front of him. So I think he knows he has the pace to pull away from this group if he can get the chance. But right now, it's just really difficult to get the chance, get the move. So he's going to have to go a bit defensive here, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few laps.
And Hagen Johnson all the while not making a mistake. We saw a little bit of a wiggle that let the UCLA car through, but Hagen Johnson, a really solid performance, and putting laps together that make it very hard to get around. And that's just, you mentioned it, pretty generous, Matt, for a street course, but here at Detroit, the Belle Isle, there's just not a lot of passing zones on any street course. And Hagen Johnson doing a really good performance here. And maybe we should mention Clemson has a little bit of an Alabama-Huntsville sandwich with Hagen Johnson in front and Justin Roberts behind. That is 2 Clemson machines. And these guys are going to go. They're going to make another lap of it. And yeah, about 7 minutes or so left in this one, Matt, as these guys try and figure out who's going to be the odd man out. Justin Roberts right now.
Yeah, it looks like I wonder if a little bit of team strategy is going to come into play here, as it looks like Ryan Whitlock's trying to make one down the inside on Hagen Johnson, but he can't quite pull it off. So that's going to put him a bit vulnerable to Justin Roberts behind. But as they keep making it through, same order as it was going into turn 3, going into turn 5 now. It's going to be interesting to see, like I was saying before, Whitlock tried to pull that move. Will there be any team orders, or team play with 2 Clemson cars in the mix? Will, Johnson try to slow up a little bit on corner exit, maybe give Roberts the chance to get a little move going due to the accordion effect? But I don't think Ryan Whitlock's going to let him get that chance, because it looks like he's trying to pull another move going into turn 7.
That would be some 4D chess, but I think these drivers are gonna go through, and I'm not sure if that's an ability to communicate through these Clemson drivers, but really good shots. You can see these cars move around. I've watched turn 1 a couple times. Alabama at Huntsville, and Ryan Whitlock has tried to go in just a little bit inside that corner, maybe a little bit defensive. It looks like he's making a move on the car in front, but I think he's just trying to hold off that 12th position. Is it better to drive defensively or offensively? I think the next couple minutes will show us.
Yeah, I know when I'm driving, I always love to be on the offensive, because you can control things a bit more. You can control the pace of the race. But defensive, Hagen Johnson's been putting on some great defensive moves. It looks like Ryan Whitlock might be close enough to put a move on him this time. Since the dummy down the outside, but I think he's going to go for it on the outside in the end. But side by side going into turn 3, can't quite make it stick, but it was a good attempt nonetheless. So as these cars, still the same order going into turn 3 as coming out of it. Going into turn 5 now. Very tricky spot to pass. It's more important here. Instead of trying to make the pass, you set up the pass for the next straightaway going down to turn 7.
Yeah, no one really expects the pass there. And I'll tell you what, a little bit of draft. Not sure if Justin Roberts is within striking distance. Chances are rare, and we'll see how desperate he is to get in this corner. But will it be defensive from Whitlock? Not too much. Everybody pretty standard into that corner or back around the fountain. And I'll tell you what, the Mercedes not as popular. A lot of curb there for that middle Lamborghini, but the Mercedes not as popular, but a good-looking car as it comes around the corners here. This is that tight corner, and this is where the Lamborghinis with that mid-engine layout could thrive and back down. Now we're going to go to 2 turns to the right and back around to the start-finish line. But Hagen Johnson managing to hold off, and Justin Roberts not able to get around that Alabama at Huntsville machine.
Yeah, as we head back up to the front of the pack, looks like Avery Walker and Santi Perez have pulled up a little bit to each other, and Thomas Toomey as well. These guys are a bit closer than they were earlier, so interesting to see if these 2 or if these 3 are going to be able to get close enough to pull a move on each other. I don't think they're going to be willing to risk it all for a move at this point in the race, but give it 3 more minutes with the 4 minutes remaining, and expect maybe a dive bomb or 2 from Santi Perez or Avery Walker.
You can hear the sounds of these cars as they rumble through the downtown. And yeah, you say that, Matt, and it's got to be, as a racer, you always want that position, and you're here to race. Your crew chief might tell you that there's an invert coming up, and you need not get that last position, especially with so much risk. But nonetheless, if we're here, I think we're racing. And let's not forget, Matt, points. Points are on the line, so full points paid out here, and there's a big difference between first and second and third, and back down to 5th. That's what the drivers and members had requested. They said, we want consequences. So there are the consequences, and it looks like you can see Texas at Arlington, WPI. Could this be a move down into turn 3? A little bit off the corner by the wall for Alexander Clank there in the yellow R8, the blue R8, driven by Nick Daly. That's Texas at Arlington. Not time for a move yet, he says. I think he's just going to park that car right on the bumper under center of the WPI car driven by Alexander Clank.
Yeah, it looked like Nicholas Daly was harassing Clink coming out of the last corner onto the front stretch, but couldn't quite pull it off in turn 1 and didn't get the run he wanted out of turn 2, going down in the passing zone at 3. So he's going to try to set it up again, gets real close to the wall from this great view from the back bumper of Alex Clink as they go down the back stretch into turn 7, that iconic Detroit Belle Isle fountain. Drivers like to take a little dip in it when they win races here. So let's see if any of these drivers can take advantage of pulling a good move on here and maybe getting their car closer to the front.
on a Tuesday evening in February, that water is going to be chilly, but not here in cyberspace. You can see that R8 closing right up and just opening up on corner exit a little bit. Really good exit for Clank right there. You can see the gap measured at about 3/10, 4/10, depending on where you are on track. That's going to be the final curve now down to the start finish line, and coming out, going to be probably coming up on the white flag or 2 to go this time by, as you can see. And actually a couple other battles, Kyle Bonin, Cohen Evans, and Carl Lemkool also getting a little bit close to each other, maybe closer than they have been. And a quick look at the scoring tower shows that the running order of the battle we previously followed is now Otzel, Whitlock, Roberts, and Hagen Johnson in 13th. And so it looks like Hagen Johnson will be back in 13th. And guys, Justin Roberts did get inside. In fact, I see a little fender modifications on that AMG, and maybe we can find. You can see the white flag there, provided by InnoVetted Labs white flag lap. And yeah, it looks like even there, with the hood a little bit popped up, and it can be difficult to see when you're behind specifically that AMG Mercedes. But coming around the final corner, and this would be the white flag lap for the Virginia Cavaliers in that flame-throwing McLaren. So just about a third of a lap to go, Matt, and it's a battle for second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Avery Walker's doing a great job to hold off Santi Therese from UNC Charlotte behind, hoping to make it a Virginia 1-2 in this first race of the evening. As they come around, what looks like the second to last corner, coming onto the front stretch now is Thomas Toomey, as he looks like he's going to take the win in this first race of the night. And as they cross the line, it's going to be Thomas Toomey, Avery Walker, and Santi Therese as your top three, as Virginia takes their 1-2 of the first race, followed by Alexander Klink and Nicholas Daly holding off for fourth and fifth. With a pack of three coming in behind with Carl Lemkool, Kyle Bonin, and Evans behind, with Valandia and Otzel still coming in behind. As we're getting a look at a couple of the battles throughout the field, still finishing up on this white flag lap and the cars in the back. Looks like this is Evan Puckett. Looks like he's just a bit ahead of the Panota as they come into turn 7. So, Josh, what are your thoughts as this race comes to an end as drivers continue to cross the checkered flag?
Well, I think we've learned something key that's going to be in for the invert, right? We had a couple drivers that you can see that we know they have speed. Patnella, Bowie, Campbell at the bottom of your scoring tower, but had issues getting up. So, when we invert and the top three are 10 through 12, that's going to have implications, make that a little bit harder for those drivers. And then conversely, will be a little bit easier for 10 through 12. The Otzel from UCLA, Ryan Whitlock, and Justin Roberts from Clemson, that's going to make that a pretty good spot for them. So Justin Roberts, by the way, no slouch, is going to be on pole on the front row and have his choice of start time when we have race 2. And so we saw how advantageous that was previously. And a keen eye will note that the way they started, the way they finished for the Virginia Cavaliers, Thomas Toomey and then Avery Walker. So overall, Matt, a very solid performance from those drivers. And I think we are learning how hard it is to pass here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a big factor for these drivers in the invert to make up their positions as fast as they can at the start. That way they don't have to worry about getting stuck behind a slower car and losing pace. As the results from the first race of tonight, or the first race of tonight, show up on your screen now, Thomas Toomey for Virginia leading the way for a 1-2 for Virginia. I think as I say that, we have Thomas Toomey now.
So Thomas
Hey,
joining
everyone.
us up here in the booth. Good that we got a copy from you. So we saw you qualify in pole. Well, second place gets the pole from Sean Campbell to start the race, and then just kind of ran away with it there. Take us through. We talked a little bit on the broadcast about the mental strength that a track like this takes. Was it hard over that 25 minutes just keeping your mind in it, turn in and turn out, and keeping that pace up in front of your Virginia teammate, Avery Walker?
Absolutely. I know tire wear is a big factor at this track, even with as cold as it is. So once I got a little bit out of draft, I actually started saving a little bit, saving the tires until Avery got back in the draft, and I think that helped him a little bit in his battle against Santiago. But until then, it was just kind of putting out laps and staying out of the wall and keeping a clean race to the end. Great one,
Well,
too.
congrats, absolutely, for yourself and for the Virginia team, Thomas. And tell us a little bit about how that hand's doing. Not quite to the track I would want to have a Simucube at, with 1.5 hands back. But how's that doing, and is that going to be a concern for tonight?
Feeling great. No, the hand's starting to heal. Thankfully, once the blisters kind of went away, they're all good. I was driving for a week with one hand, shifting with one hand, and I turned my force feedback down. And then I actually went back to driving, and I realized that I was kind of manhandling the wheel too much, so I had to turn up the force feedback when I was able to use my other hand again. That seemed to help me a little bit feel the grip and kind of not overdrive the car with the steering wheel, which always degrades your tires way more than they should.
Yeah, as always, tire wear, especially around an abrasive track like this, is a big factor. But coming up, race 2, starting 12th after winning the first race. What are your thoughts, and do you have any strategies going into the second race, trying to make your way through the field?
Right now, my strategy is to survive. After I heard Sean Campbell go into the field, was unfortunately taken out, or there's a little collision or something. So I know the middle of the field is very dangerous, especially right in the beginning. So I want to try and stay clean as much as possible, and if I can finish the race with a clean race car, then that'll be a success.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. So good luck here in the second race, Thomas.
Thank you.
So it's Thomas Toomey, your race 1 winner. You hear it. He's going to start back there in 12th position, right in the middle of that pack. And Matt, you asked him the great question, what's your strategy? And it was objective survive. I think that's going to be key here in this race. He said it himself. You heard it from the racer. And I think it's also going to be interesting to see how Sean Campbell comes back in the second race after a little bit of a dust up there in race 1, how he's able to come back, salvage a couple points here, try to hold on to that points lead that he has. Josh?
Yeah, I think so, and it's a really good, tough situation. An opportunity though to start, and he's going to have to make the decision if he would like to continue to be aggressive, or if he just wants to set the goal, be up in the top 15, top 10 or so, and get those points. If he wants to go to the win, he can. He's going to have to start at the drop of the green flag and get around. Maybe he can spend some good karma from the drivers around him, but that'll be Matt, as we mentioned, business decisions that Randolph and Sean will have the opportunity to make, and so that'll be one to watch as well. And then certainly with this invert, that's the other thing I'm looking at is with such difficulty to pass. I'm looking at Justin Roberts, Ryan Whitlock, and Joe Otzel from UCLA. Those cars are going to be quick. And will they have the ability to hold off the Chargers behind them? Will we see somebody else come to the front? By the way, we had a pretty good start last race, but we're going to do it all again right now. In fact, coming up in about a couple seconds, we'll begin the grid for the second heat. So, could have a Bathurst-esque, pile if somebody's not careful. It is a second race, and all those things, Matt, that we talked about, where sometimes we play nicely in the first heat and be a little strategic. The time is now. The future is now, and it's going to be a little bit less so in round 2.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers, if they were a bit more calm in the first race, I think now is the time to definitely turn it up. No second race or no third race after this. So this is where if you had a bad first race, you can try and make up some points, be maybe a bit aggressive. And if you had a really good first race, you want to try to hold off and get back up to where you were at the start of the first race and the end of the first race as well. So as I say that, our grid for the second race comes up. Josh, if you want to take it away from there.
That's correct. The grid is going to be on your poll from the invert. Justin Roberts, Clemson University. Ryan Whitlock, Alabama at Huntsville. Joe Otzel, UCLA. And Sean Valandia from UCLA. Those two drivers starting side by side. And then Cohen Evans, IUPUI. Kyle Bonin from Clemson University. Carl Lemkool from St. Louis University in 7th position, followed by Nick Daly next to him. Alexander Clank and Santiago Perez will lock out the top 10. Avery Walker and Thomas Toomey will bring your top 12, and those are the inverted drivers, guys. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see what they have. George Nimmer from Southern Illinois and Hagen Johnson. We mentioned the name from Clemson University. Athena Leclerc, St. Clair College, and Clemson's Andrew Williams in 16th. Austin DeLong from Penn College of Technology, Andrew Burrell from Clemson University, and we are off, guys, down into turn 1. You can see Virginia right there getting sorted out. Avery Walker next to the Toomey machine. We go down into turn 3 now. It is still side by side, everybody appearing to survive. Kyle Bonin's Porsche, we follow along. Great camera as you see everybody dive down to the corner, and there is some trouble down in turn 3. A car is around, looked like Ryan Whitlock, looked like UCLA. I think I see the R8 of St. Louis University also in that blend, but Hagen Johnson makes it through. Southern Illinois, the green BMW behind, makes it through. You can see right there.
Yeah, it looks like Joe Otzel, he's trying to make a move, try to get past the cars he passed earlier in the first race, just couldn't do it. But Ryan Whitlock putting the pressure on Justin Roberts now from Clemson, trying to make a move down into turn 7. Early in the race is probably the best time to do it. Can't quite get there, but sets himself up well out of the exit to keep that second spot, moving around the fountain now. Yeah, a lot of chaos at the start. Can't wait to see a replay of that and kind of figure out exactly what happened. But as things stand, Justin Roberts leads Ryan Whitlock and Kyle Bonin out of turn 9 now.
Yeah, action at the front right now. Replay coming, but it looks like we'll stick with this Clemson machine. IUPUI looking forth. Cohen Evans, we talked about it, knows where to put his car at the right time. We'll see if he can be there at the end. But behind him, Alexander Klank, Thomas Toomey, Avery Walker. Guys, those are fast drivers. Also, Hagen Johnson, you see there. And it's going to be tricky. You can see Sean Campbell already up to 13th. That's going to be halfway up through this field of 26, guys. So Randolph College in good clans right there. And it looks like Andrew Williams in that Clemson Porsche is going to be around, concede some spots, but it looks like he'll be able to continue on. And so we see that the second race, the warm-up, you can break the rhythm. These drivers are trying to find that rhythm again, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of the big factors moving in from race 1 to race 2 is that different positions. You know, some guys who are normally near the front, they're going to have to mix it up with some of the slower guys. As we see a replay here of the start going down into turn 3, looks like the two UCLA cars going to be side by side going into it. A big dive bomb coming way downtown. I can't tell who exactly that was, but catches out both UCLA cars. Just completely looks like somebody missed their braking zone or hit a wall or something, and it causes a bit of a traffic jam that you might see around downtown Detroit at rush hour. But this is CIL racing, not rush hour traffic right now. So a bit unfortunate that happened. Can't tell what car that was. It might have been, it was definitely a black Audi, but you can't tell much more than that from this above view. But super unfortunate from some of those guys who got caught up in it. The UCLA cars of Sean Valandia and Joey Otzel, nothing they can do. They were playing it safe through turn 3, but like we were talking about, the objective is to survive. And, unfortunately, they just got caught up in something that wasn't their fault. As we come back to the front of the field, Justin Roberts taking the lead. He stays in the lead from Ryan Whitlock and Bonin behind. Cohen Evans still in 4th. So, Josh, your thoughts on that incident?
Well, that was Santi Perez just got in a little bit deep, UNC Charlotte in that Audi R8. And I think he had the presence of mind to Alt F4 to close the application, but the client, so for those new maybe to multiplayer games or to games like this in the esports arena, your client that's running on your computer is calculating already where the cars are around you. So we were able to see that the UNC Charlotte machine had the etiquette, disconnected, realized that corner was not to be made, and was able to disconnect. And however, the client, I think, for that UCLA car, the Bruin machine of Sean Valandia, right, did not get the memo in time. And so that's why you saw a little bit of a wiggle. Would have been the anticipated contact from his game into the view that we see that is being compiled by the iRacing server. And so that is going to be the unfortunate reality that we battle here. So Ryan Whitlock, Alabama at Huntsville, you can see still bouncing around those Detroit streets, and he's going to try and go. He's going to see if he can make a move on Justin Roberts. It's not yet time, and he's going to be right under center on back of that Lamborghini. Clemson University now under fire. You can see the focus and maybe the calmness right there. It's a long way to go here. About 20 minutes left in this race. Decides to pull out. Will it be late braking? Yeah, he's just going to put a nose. Makes a good job. Presents where he's at. And yeah, didn't quite take the line in. Really tough to defend right there. In fact, Kyle Bonnet does a little defense of his own. But Ryan Whitlock back on the outside.
This is going to be tight here going in through turn 5. That's not really a place you can go side by side and make it out clean. But Ryan Whitlock hung it around the outside. He had the corner or the inside for turn 6, and he takes the lead. Great racing there between those two, but that does allow everybody to bunch up, gives them closer together. Looks like Kyle Bonnet is going to be trying to make a move for second now past his teammate Justin Roberts from Clemson. Going side by side into turn 7. Things kind of single file out a little bit before the corner, but they all make it through there cleanly. But one guy who really likes all this fighting up front is going to be Sean Campbell, already up to 10th position. He's not too far off the back of these guys, so if they keep fighting, I wouldn't be surprised to see him up to the front soon, as we see him on our screens now. Trying to make a move on, looks like Nimmer from the University of,
It's going to be from Southern Illinois, George Nimmer, and you can see Sean Campbell getting inside the head, just trying to poke out. Is he there? Is he there? Ducks back inside for the corner, and now he's going to have a look down across the start-finish line. Can he get there? I think he will get there. He'll pull alongside and set his sights on Hagen Johnson. Yeah, position given there. Not much battle from Southern Illinois, and you can see that, Matt, that pass was set up about 2 turns earlier, having a very good exit off of the just coming out of the fountain sequence. And so that's how at a street course a lot of these drivers are going to have to set up their passes and be very deliberate in where they put their car. But guys, Ryan Whitlock and his Lamborghini up at the front for Charger Motorsports and staying there for a little bit. Kyle Bonnet also passed Justin Roberts. That's a little bit of Clemson action there. So Clemson in P2 and P3, and then Cohen Evans from IUPUI going to be in P4.
Yeah, looks like Sean Campbell just got past Hagen Johnson earlier, or a little bit earlier as well. So looks like he's only a couple of seconds behind this lead pack. So all this fighting behind is going to lead to that Sean Campbell catching up soon, and we know exactly how quick he is. So good racing between this front pack right now, keeping it clean so far. As we go into turn, looks like 9. Looks like there was a big move on the inside there. That looks like to be Thomas Toomey. He's sliding back in line behind Cohen Evans in front of Alexander Klink, and that is for 5th position. So he's making his way back to the field after having a great first race, starting 12th in this race, already up 7 positions.
Yeah, back across the finish line. You can see there at the Belle Isle, and it looks like getting in. Ooh, a little bit tight. Big move there. It looks like that would have been the Thomas Toomey. Would have been a little bit deep, and he was 5th. So don't know if he was trying to make a position so much as, and locked up there. I don't know if that was 100% intentional, Matt, but looks like everybody survived. And we talked about Cohen Evans, Alexander Klink, and Toomey all having a bit of talent in maintaining their spacing. IUPUI even given a little bit of room. Probably became aware that that was not going to be a successful move from Thomas back behind, and just able to maintain. Everybody lived on, but back up at the front, Charger Motorsports still at the point.
Yeah, as they move down into turn 7 now, looking back in the field, Thomas Toomey still trying to set up a move on Cohen Evans. It was a bit opportunistic going into that corner, but they made it through safely. Maybe giving Cohen Evans a little something to think about as he makes a dive bomb a little bit into turn 7. No contact, but it was very close. But as you look in the back of your screens there, you see Sean Campbell slowly edging himself up back to the edge of this pack. So that's definitely something, these guys are going to look in their rear mirrors, they're going to look in their relatives, and they're going to see, Sean Campbell making his presence known in that big BMW of his.
Sean having the pace, and did receive an EOL for his choice of BMW, differing from our last race at Sebring, but maybe he's decided that the big low end torque is going to pull out of some of these corners. It is a track for that if you can keep the rear end from slipping around just a little bit. But I think what Sean is going to find is that these drivers up ahead are going to be a little bit harder to pass than the drivers that he's just moved by, and maybe not the same sense of urgency. He does have 15 minutes left in this one to go, so single file right now for these drivers, just trying to get through maybe this mid section of the race. And nobody dare set up a pass, because as soon, Matt, as you move off the racing line, somebody right behind you is there to pass. In fact, you can see just about evenly spaced, about 2 car lengths separate each car in the shot right now. Great shot from our production crew on just what it's like to get around the Detroit traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see on board with Sean Campbell right now, trying to set up a move on Avery
Jared said
Walker,
Whitlock
our
on
second
screen.
place finisher from the first race, but can't quite get it going into turn 7 on the backstretch. But that previous lap, Sean Campbell, a second faster than anybody else in the track. So just goes to show the pace Sean Campbell has in that BMW of his as the cars in front battle. Losing a little bit of time, going nose to tail. Looks like a little bit of sliding coming out of Thomas Toomey there, coming out of turn 11, but nothing that's going to cost the position as they go into the final 2 corners of this lap. Close racing so far, but it's going to be interesting to see how these cars handle Sean Campbell kind of coming up behind. Is he going to be putting moves on them that, might be a little bit more aggressive? So we'll have to wait and see. But at the front, things are still in order as they were at the start of the lap before. Ryan Whitlock out front, defending from Kyle Bonnet, half a second back. The Clemson Porsche, running back down the front stretch. Going into turn 3, not quite close enough to make a move, but the front 2 have definitely pulled out a gap on the third car behind them. But it looks like Thomas Toomey trying to pull a move on Cone Evans is going a bit defensive. Nothing going for him, but Sean Campbell gets the move on Avery Walker, moving himself up into 7th place. Let's get another look at that move again. Going down the inside, just sticking a nose in there. Looks like Avery Walker might have put himself a little bit wide, might have locked up for, slid the tires a little bit. But either way, Sean Campbell up into 7th, and he's on the hunt tonight, isn't he, Josh?
He is, most certainly. I think he has got that BMW hooked up, maybe more substantially than his competitors right here. But Thomas Toomey, again, trying to get around Cohen Evans. Can he do it? If he can maintain on the inside right here, this is not where I'd want to be too wide. Matt, you mentioned time is given up right here. And yeah, if you can have the courage to finish off a slide job on one of these corners, you might have a shot. But it looks like they're Virginia and IUPUI, and then WPI will get it figured out here. So that's going to be your new running order. But +1 spot for Thomas Toomey and the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah, that was a great move by him, going around the outside of 7 and hanging in there until turn 8. It's a really difficult corner to do anything on the outside of, but it looks like at the front, Ryan Whitlock holding off still half a second in front of Kyle Bonnet. Behind, they've pulled out a bit more of a gap, 1.5 seconds due to the racing behind them, followed by Thomas Toomey and the McLaren from Virginia. But nose to tail, 4 cars back. Looks like the Alexander Klink of WPI is going to try to make a move around the outside on Cohen Evans here from IUPUI. Good move. Is he going to make it stick? He will. Still side by side going into turn 4, though. Can Cohen Evans put another move back on him? And he can't. Just doesn't have the drive off. And Alexander Klink is going to take that position, but Sean Campbell is going to follow him straight through. That's 2 positions lost there for Cohen Evans, but he's sticking it in on the inside going into turn 6.
Yeah, wanted it in turn 6 there. If Cohen Evans would actually stay inside of Sean Campbell, that might give him a shot down into the final turn, but maybe he figured it would open him up to the Virginia machine behind of Avery Walker. But that's Sean Campbell up to 6th place. Alexander Klink in 5th, and running 4th, as mentioned, is Thomas Toomey. Do see Kyle Bonnet closing in on the leader just a little bit. Ryan Whitlock there from the University of Alabama at Huntsville, still up front. But that's your running order right now. And yeah, you can see those two just starting to check out. So we had mentioned, Matt, these are the 2 drivers this evening that, given a little bit of free air, are able to start moving out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, these guys, they aren't battling side to side like some of the guys in the back behind them. So while they're in clean air and they have great pace, guys like Sean Campbell, Thomas Toomey, guys who run at the front. Thomas was our race winner in the first race tonight. If he makes the pass on Ryan Whitlock tonight and gets the lead and holds the lead, he's going to be our first repeat winner of the season. So hopefully he can make it stick. It goes a little deep into the turn 3, but keeps about the same distance to Ryan in front. So as they go into turn 4, same order as before, but behind, things are heating up for them.
Yeah, that is, and Thomas Toomey would have his work cut out for him to be the repeat winner this evening. You can see right there that Porsche Kyle Bonnet trying to use the mechanics of that car. Rear engine, likes to stick, and probably get on the gas a little bit earlier than the Lamborghini. But Lamborghini, no stranger to corners either, as we see the McLaren, its own unique driving style, trying to make a move on Justin Roberts, but not sure this is the place. And back through around the fountain we go. And it's going to be Clemson leading University of Virginia. In fact, up at the front, it's going to be Clemson following. And right there, we see Alexander Clank is going to be turned around. How did he get in this situation? It looks like Sean Campbell making a move to the inside and trying to sell a dummy. Down into the corner they go, and just around, just outdrove himself just a touch, Alexander Clank, and that's the pressure we talked about. These guys are driving at such a high level, and you want to maintain your position. That's what it takes, all these drivers on the edge. And Sean Campbell, very good job here to keep his car where he wanted and let his competitor make a mistake there. So that is a strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean's definitely putting the pressure on Clink here. Tries to dummy it down the inside a little bit. There's a little space there, but goes back to the outside. And I think Clink just gets a little too hard on the brakes, a little too hard on the gas too early, and he just spins out. It's a very easy corner to do that in. It's very, very bumpy, but that's going to be costly for him in this race. Drops him back down to 13th right now, but we'll see what he can do. That puts Sean Campbell up into 5th, only a few seconds off the leaders now. As we see Thomas Toomey and Justin Roberts going side by side, going to the same corner we saw Clink and Sean Campbell going into. Toomey gets the overtake done before the braking zone, so he must have had a great run out of turn 6. That puts him up into 3rd in the podium positions, and we'll see if he can catch up to Kyle Bonnet and Ryan Whitlock up in front.
Yeah, he'll have his work cut out. And Sean Campbell again closing up, I think, to Justin Roberts. And Sean Campbell really using that BMW. I looked at cars that I thought I might want to take around Belle Isle, and I don't know that the BMW was on top of my list, but I would stand corrected. So we know that car can be hooked up with a little bit of a soft suspension if you are into that sort of thing. But will he be able to get there to the end? And yeah, I think that Kyle Bonin would be a repeat winner from Sebring if he was able to make that pass, and he would want the drivers behind him to keep that Randolph machine at bay for just long enough. So the orange wheels on a mission, and we'll see what they can do. Justin Roberts as well is behind, and so could that teammate play into a little bit of effect?
Yeah, as you see in the background, it looks like Sean Campbell and Justin Roberts going side by side going into turn 5. Very difficult corner, like we talked about earlier, to go side by side into, but Sean gets the move done going into turn 6, and that puts him up into 4th. Only 3 cars between him and the lead now. Thomas Toomey about a couple seconds up the road, so we'll see if he can make the move on Thomas and keep moving up the field. But great progress by Sean Campbell so far, starting at the back of this field after getting into an incident in the first race. So we'll see what he has to do to make the moves on Toomey, Bonin, and Whitlock later in this race if he gets there.
Yeah, and I think that open road ahead would be the most given thing about this. So if he gets there, I assume he gets there, and that's going to be what these drivers don't want to see. And so Toomey is going to be looking in his rear view, and you can see the leader, Alabama at Huntsville, just flashing the lights. Excuse me, that's going to be Baylor right there, who we'll see if they give way on this next straight. See that splitter turned up a little bit. Yeah, Bennett. You can see Brett Bennett. Yep, go to the right, and there they go. And we'll see where he slots in line for this event. Can Kyle Bonnet, Toomey get by? That'll be all right. And you can see Sean Campbell now would like the same extension of grace as we pick up a little bit of grass. That Clemson machine using all the track and then some.
Yeah, that's difficult for the lap car there with the leaders coming by. On the straight, it's not bad, but when you get down into the braking zones in the corners, it can be a bit difficult for the cars behind to find space, especially on the road circuit like this, where the walls, they seem close, but they're even closer when you get up close to them. So, Ryan Whitlock able to pull a bit of a gap off of that lap traffic, but I think Thomas Toomey's definitely lining up a move on Kyle Bonnet, and he sees Sean Campbell in his mirror, and he knows he's got to go. He's got to go because, ever looming present, the thought of Sean Campbell behind is just, you don't want to be overtaken by him after he started in the back. So, Josh? Oh, as we see a move from Thomas Toomey.
That's correct. Thomas Toomey right into the Porsche there, and I assume that he would have wanted to be by the Porsche of Kyle Bonin so that he could be free of Sean Campbell, but that's not quite gone well, and so now he's going to be under fire from that BMW. Look at the size difference. That large BMW M4 there in that McLaren rear view mirror. And Matt, I was going to say that these drivers racing every other week, they know what's going on in each other's heads. Kyle would have known Thomas wanted to get by. Thomas knows Sean is coming. Sean knows that all these guys don't like seeing him in his rearview mirror, but nonetheless, so that's going to be the situation now with 6 laps to go. That's going to be 6 minutes to go. Probably 4 or so laps, maybe 5. That's going to be a long time to hold off a hard charging this evening, Sean Campbell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can definitely see the pace difference between Toomey and Campbell as they close right up to Whitlock within a lap. But, these cars, they're, running close and closer every lap. So every once in a while there might be a little contact between them, but these GT3 cars are durable. They are built to a little bit of contact. Definitely not as much contact as some other cars, but big move down the inside from Thomas Toomey in that incident. Just clips the rear bumper from of Bonin. But unfortunate, but sometimes it happens in racing. So we'll see for any penalties given out for that contact. But we see here in that same corner, 1 lap later, Sean Campbell trying to pull the move on Thomas Toomey. Can't quite get there going into the penultimate corner of the lap. But top three drivers right now running nose to tail.
Nose to tail, and you can see Toomey has turned it on. He's got both hands on that wheel, and he is going to the start-finish line. He's closed up a gap on the leader here. Alabama at Huntsville going to have a mirror full, and you can bet Thomas Toomey is not going to be patient. You can see right there, it's going to be good power down for the BMW. Everybody defending might as well just take this line into the corner. Who's going to be the first back to the racing line? And it looks like a dummy by the BMW. Everybody wide, can't see. It looks like it's going to be BMW. That's going to be Randolph making the most of that situation. Thomas Toomey, Kyle Bonin. I don't see Alabama at Huntsville, but great shot here going into the corner. It was a little bit late braking. Yeah, sold a dummy, and Virginia bought. Actually, contact there. Virginia in the corner, and heartbreak for University of Alabama at Huntsville. So Ryan Whitlock certainly not pleased right now as you see his resting place right in the tires. Thomas Toomey making that contact down into the final turn. That was not what either of those schools wanted to see. And Thomas, you can see on the radio, not pleased with himself with that move. And Matt, it's so hard to have that eye out the windshield and keep focus on your rear view as well. And so we can see, will the McLaren, and I don't think so, will anyone have anything for Sean Campbell to finish this one out? But Sean Campbell, a winner at Phillip Island, and if he could get the job done tonight, would be the first repeat winner here in season 4 in the CIL for Randolph College. But a little bit of a turn of events there. And Thomas Toomey in pit lane, would that be? Yes, Thomas Toomey, that was handed out, as you can see on your screen, from the race stewards. And so Virginia will not be having anything this evening, and that'll be difficult for the points because that'll be a lot of positions for Thomas Toomey there on that drive-through. So Kyle Bonin and Clemson back in position, second place, but with 3 minutes to go, I don't think it will be very much on now with Justin Roberts and Justin Roberts trying to chase Cohen Evans as I view the scoring tower. So Orange Wheels trying to get past IUPUI, and Cohen Evans, we've said he's calm and focused just about every lap that he does here in CIL. Been on for a long time, and so always looking good. The Jaguar, will he be able to hold off? And he's looking good. Only 1 or 2 laps to go, Matt.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate contact between the top 3 there a little bit ago. It's so easy to do that. You're looking in your mirror, focused on defending, but you also forget you're attacking at the same time. So it's very easy to do, especially when he kind of got sold the dummy there by Sean Campbell. Campbell made it look like he was going to dive inside and dove back outside. So especially if that gets on your nerves and you kind of hesitate on a street circuit like this, you always got to be alert. So it can definitely lead to mistakes like that. As Sean Campbell, I believe he might have started his final lap as they come to the white flag now, presented by InnoVetted Labs. We still got battles going on throughout the field, though. Avery Walker here trying to chase down Kyle Bonin for second place. Remember, these 2 cars are in different classes. Avery Walker with the red windshield stripes is a part of the alumni. Kyle Bonin is part of the student, but all the positions matter the same to them. They're all racing. So this gaggle of cars here, Alexander Klink, a bunch of cars in front with looks like Nimmer and Panyota. apologies for mispronouncing that name there. I know I did, but they're going down into turn 3. They're side by side. Looks like there's going to be a big move here for Maximilian Bui as he makes it, but it looks like there's going to be another move here behind by can't tell who that is, but it's the Lamborghini. They all make it through there cleanly. So as they come around, the order as it stands is looks like Maximilian Bui's in the Lamborghini, followed by Panota and the McLaren, and then Clank in the Audi. Josh?
That's Ball State University in that black McLaren. Juan Pantoja being followed by Alexander Clank there again from Worcester Polytechnic Institute. And can he get the job done around there? Following on now with Thomas Toomey. Going to try and get around Hagen Johnson. That's for position, but not really a place to pass right here. This will be for the 6th position. And again, we said points. Thomas Toomey would love to have these points, especially after that drive-through penalty. And so, yeah, he'll go wide. He'll try and get a little bit of drive off in that McLaren, and we know that it's a good car for the job. Going back up to the front, it's going to be P2 is Kyle Bonin, and then followed by Avery Walker. You have Cohen Evans and Justin Roberts. Going back to this battle, looks like the McLaren will settle for P7. That's going to be 7th place for the University of Virginia, Thomas Toomey. Alexander Clank not quite getting around Ball State, those drivers there, but Max Bui with the last lap move to get ahead of that group. Austin DeLong, Penn College of Technology now coming to the line, and you see Athena Leclerc's Porsche from St. Clair College bringing that school up to the line. Right behind Sean Valandia, we saw a tough race start for that group, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, no doubt. So as the rest of the group starts to finish up, Matt, that was a big one.
Yeah, fantastic racing throughout the field there. A lot closer than the first race, but still mostly clean for the most part. But some incidents, a little bit of rubbing and banging, but that's not unexpected at a street circuit. You know, the track's tight. There's a lot of walls around, not a lot of places to go. So it's not surprising we see a little bit more contact here, especially with the inverted top 12 from the first race. So, I mean, great race overall as we see a replay here of what looks like Kyle Bonin and Avery Walker's photo finish here. Avery Walker just gets a great run out of that last corner going up to the pit exit there, or the pit entry there, excuse me. But Avery Walker just couldn't quite pull it off. I believe the finish was only about 0.06 of a second. So great run. You know, if there was another lap, Avery Walker would have had him. But either way, great racing between those two to finish off the last lap of race 2 for the night.
Yeah, that was pretty tough there, and yeah, you'd like to go the short way around in that instance, but not so well defended there from Kyle Bonin, and no slouch, Kyle, with a win 2 weeks ago at Sebring and P2 tonight. That driver will be looking pretty good, and Clemson University will be looking quite well in the point standings, and so as we get wrapped up here and compile our driver interviews, you can see the top 10, and this is your final grid. That is Sean Campbell with quite the win from Randolph College, Kyle Bonin, Clemson University, Avery Walker from Virginia, followed by IUPUI's Cohen Evans. Clemson University's Justin Roberts and Hagen Johnson, and then Virginia and Thomas Toomey's 7th place after that drive-through penalty. Really good showing from Southern Illinois and George Nimmer in P8. P9, University of Southern California's Max Bui, and then wrapping it up, Ball State University, Juan Pantoja, P10. And again, another good showing from Ball State University, especially after Heat 1, was able to go back to the notebook and apply what was learned. And so, Matt, Jarrett, in fact, I'll ask Jarrett, what are your initial thoughts on that one, and a bit of excitement there at the end?
Yeah, a lot of excitement, and someone who is in that excitement joining us up in the booth, Kyle Bonin from Clemson at the last lap, 5/100ths of a second separating you and Avery Walker on that final corner. Walk us through those last couple laps because it was adventure filled. Take us through what it was like in that 26 Clemson machine here tonight.
Yeah, those last few laps were really, really stressful. I had a little bit of an incident with Thomas Toomey near the fountain section, but I knew he was coming. He and Sean were both racing up the order pretty quickly. After that, just trying to keep up, and I ended up understeering in turn 2 into the outside wall, and basically from there had a little bit of steering damage, and I think the arrow was off a little bit too. So I just had to try to hold my ground as best I could against Avery. I don't know what happened on that last lap. There was some sort of miscommunication or something with passing lap traffic. Nearly took me out, but that ended up, I think, basically giving me enough space to Avery then to finish in second there.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race from you, Kyle. You know, last time you finished first in Sebring in the second race. This time you're finishing second overall. That incident between Sean Campbell, Thomas Toomey, and Ryan Whitlock, I'm sure you were a little bit behind, but do you have a good view of that? Did you see what was happening up in front of you? And what were your thoughts when you saw some of the leaders up in front spinning and crashing?
I actually was a little bit too far back to see in detail about who was in front of who when it happened, but I kind of saw them slicing and dicing, weaving a little bit. I was like, there's probably something about to happen here. Um, Sucks for Ryan, because basically I couldn't get past him the whole race. Definitely a super hard track to pass at. Definitely, I just didn't have the pace to be able to make a pass. So that sucks for him. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I'll have to go back and watch the replay of that one.
Yeah, certainly a hard fought battle there, and congrats on this P2 on top of Sebring's P1 effort for yourself and for Clemson. And through Heat 1 and 2, Heat 1 was pretty calm, Heat 2 was pretty rambunctious. But first street circuit of the year, and how was CIL and how was the roadside at the street circuit, and was passing hard? Was the bumps enough? And what were the overall impressions there?
It's definitely a challenge, especially because you don't have any runoff. You know, it's super easy to just maybe brake a little bit too late or turn in a little bit too late and just understeer into that outside wall on way too many corners here. Leading up to this, I was talking to Justin, also another Clemson driver, and we were both talking about the probability that we're going to understeer into a wall and screw up our steering. I ended up doing that near the end of the second race. Um, it's bumpy. I don't know if I would say some of the bumps are as bad as Sebring, but being a road course, it's a little different to get used to because of where the bumps are positioned. Um, so it's definitely a challenge. I kind of enjoyed it. It can get a little messy with passing since we don't have much room to pass, and especially with Detroit, passing zones are far and few between.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations. Sounds like you earned it this evening. So let us know who makes this all possible for you.
Yeah, shout out to again the Clemson Formula SAE team. My mom, if she's watching, and then you guys for putting this on. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was running a special livery for a friend of mine who was on the team. He was kind of a mentor to me as I was a freshman, sophomore on the Formula team. He just recently passed away, and he was kind of influential on me and definitely had a massive impact on the team. So definitely want to shout out to him.
Oh, certainly. Congratulations. And yeah, don't worry. Celebrate with your team. And awesome run tonight.
Thank you.
So it was Kyle Bonin from Clemson University right there, and pretty good story right there as well. And I think he definitely did well in that paint scheme here tonight, coming away second place overall. Joining us now up in the booth is our third place overall finisher, and that's Avery Walker, also from the University of Virginia. And we thought we were going to have a Virginia lockout in race number 2 there for a while, Avery, and talk about that invert and having to come back up through the field after you and Thomas kind of dominated that first race.
Yeah, I mean that was tough. I mean, first of all, like I got to get my shout out of the way because I need to shout out Tommy. He played the team game so well. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like he was telling me when he was gonna go on race 1 so that I could get a good start. he slowed down a little bit so I could pick up draft off him, hopefully hold off Santiago. So he was huge for race 1, trying to get that 1-2. So shout out to him. Race 2, definitely difficult, definitely some luck involved. Pressuring some people into mistakes, some people just making mistakes on their own. So that certainly helped. I just wish that I could have gotten Kyle right at the end. I know he's student and I'm alumni, but dang, that was so close.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. You mentioned your teammate Thomas Toomey. How important is having a teammate that's just as fast as you? Out there helping you with either setup tips or just like things in the race, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, it's huge for sure. Not so much setup, just because we're running different cars these days. But in some of the earlier seasons, like he was giving me setups, he was giving me, lap guides. We were practicing together. So, and also, for this race and some races last year, like we were getting in the draft, and I was telling him, I'm not going to try to pass you. Let's just tow. Let's just, behave and pass everyone else. So, yeah, it's definitely huge having him as my teammate.
Yeah, congratulations, and really neat to hear the aspect of the team part as these schools get involved here in CIL. And as you went around the street course, we asked how was the Audi for rotation. We saw a number of Audis tonight up at the front, and I wondered personally if it would be a little bit tricky across the bumps, but it seems like it worked for yourself and for other drivers.
Yeah, so I kind of heard talking to the other people at the start of the race. They were also surprised at the number of Audis because I think the idea is that the Audi's not that good over bumps or just not that good at this track. I don't know. I love the Audi. I like this track. Maybe I was just making it work because I like the Audi and like the track, but I didn't really have too many issues with it. So I don't really know what to say there. Just it felt good.
Well, thank your engineers and teammates for that one. But Avery Walker, third place here tonight, the number one or the number one alumni, excuse me, so taking that win away. Who do you have to thank and shout out here?
Again, definitely Tommy. Definitely everyone at Virginia Motorsports. That's the Formula Baja SAE team there. Hoping that the 1-2 inspires some more of you guys to come out and play, and so we can get the team a little bit bigger.
Awesome. Well, a great run again. Go enjoy it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
So it's Avery Walker, University of Virginia. Tonight, you heard it. Little team play, and Avery Walker, an alumni, working with Thomas Toomey, the student. So not even necessarily two students working together, an alumni and a student working together. That's what's so cool and so unique about the CIL here is that student and alumni aspect as well, all representing your school. And speaking of someone that represented their school well, Sean joining us up in the booth now. And Sean, you had to work for it in that second race. Take us through those final couple of laps there.
It was getting tense at the end. It was this back and forth between trying to pass people because I knew the reverse grid, I think, was going to be my chance to actually win a race this season on the second heat because they would get stuck behind. Hopefully, not many passes will happen. I was banking on having Thomas and Alex not make it through by the time I got there, hopefully, if I did, and then I did, but they didn't make it through. So it got really close.
Yeah, so congrats on the win and the first repeat winner we've had this season. And so, Sean, tell us a little bit about moving up through the field. Was it tricky? Did other drivers play nice? I think you would be up for the most spots gained or the hard charger award. So walk us through that process, and then maybe a little bit at the end. Part B. What was your reaction as you saw the University of Alabama at Huntsville and Ryan Whitlock go deep into turn one? Was that like the Red Seas parting?
Yeah, a little bit. I think when you're trying to go through anything like traffic or anything like in multi-class, it's just about being patient but opportunistic. Not too opportunistic though, so you don't take anybody out. You just find where the person ahead of you is slow and try and set up to be fast there so that you can pass them. But I
Yeah,
also,
always.
oh, sorry.
Nah, you go ahead and finish.
All right. It's I also got some help from people letting me buy, which I'm happy, but also kind of sad about because like they're in a race, right? They're racing for points. They don't have to let me go.
Yeah, it's always, important to hear about drivers, really emphasizing patience and whatnot on a street circuit like this where it can be difficult to pass. But you saw you got caught up in an incident in the first race that kind of sidelined you with some damage for the rest of the time. So what's going through your mind for watching the rest of that first race, knowing you have to start at the back, and are you formulating a plan then, or are you working on something else?
Um, I don't know. I was just kind of sitting there watching to see maybe where Thomas was good, where he was bad at, how aggressive, how patient some of the people were. I don't know. I was just scheming, I guess.
Scheming and coming up with a plan to win the race, and that plan paid off well here tonight. So, Sean Campbell, who do you want to give a shout out to before we send you to the InnoVetted Labs victory lane?
I guess Michael and Eric and Max as usual. For introducing me to the league. Again, I say it every time, but I do mean it because it's been a lot of fun.
Well, it's always fun watching your race from up here in the booth, I'll tell you what. But go enjoy it. Go jump in the fountain here at Belle Isle, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. See ya.
So Sean Campbell very excitedly gonna go jump in the fountain there in Belle Isle. But man, I know we joke about it, but what fun it is to watch him tear through the field. And you heard it. He was like, Thomas snuck through it, didn't know if I could catch him. And then things happened. Thomas Toomey finishing 7th. Sean Campbell getting the win. Josh, you said it. Our first repeat winner here in CIL. Josh?
Yeah, that's awesome. Very excited to see that, and very entertained to view that. Talking about a driver who started and tough after Heat 1, right? Really no laps to get used to traffic, to get used to the track. In that first heat, and then to go from I don't know if it was straight last, but towards the end, being able to do that, come to the front, awesome run from Sean Campbell, great to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun watching Sean go through the field like that. Even if we were expecting him to tear up the field in the first race, with this format we have with invert after the first race and the second race, it allows good racing like this. It mixes things up, puts people where they aren't comfortable, and it really gives drivers the chance to show off their racecraft. Sometimes with qualifying, you can show off your one lap pace and things spread out, but the second race really gives drivers the opportunity to, show what they can do.
Yeah, you said it right there, Matt. Show what they can do, especially on a circuit like this. You guys both mentioned it, the difficulty in passing. And these GT3 cars, they have that ABS system, so you can get pretty hard on the brakes. We're not seeing a lot of cars lock up outside of the rare situation, and we're seeing a lot of tight-knit racing. And I think that's what we were shooting for when making the switch to these GT3 cars. And so far, the guys have really enjoyed it. There's been fantastic racing all season long, and I'm sure there's more on tap. In 2 weeks' time, as Road goes to Watkins Glen, one of my favorite tracks personally, and I know a couple guys really excited about this one. A big, long, lengthy track. We'll be running the boot, that good layout, and don't forget about the bus stop, Josh.
That's absolutely correct, and I think you said it all. Very excited for Watkins Glen up by the Finger Lakes next time.
Yeah, Watkins Glen, one of the best tracks in North America. I don't think there's a single spot on that track you can't really pass at. Every corner, if you set the car up right, you've got a good race going on, you can make it pass anywhere there. So expect to see some great racing going on in Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, so if you want more CIL action, be sure to tune in 14 days, where we will have that from the Glen. And if you want a little more CIL action, the CIL Oval Series returns with its Prospect and Premier Series next week. The Premier Series on Tuesday night, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on the CIL channels. So for one last time from here in downtown Detroit, hope you enjoyed it. As always, Josh and Matt, thank you for sharing the booth with me here tonight. And what a good one it was, both races. Congrats to all the winners. And thank you to everyone at home tuning on in. We hope to see you again soon. Good night, everybody.